You're never comfortable. You never feel safe. Imagine waking up, opening your front door, and a truck goes by at 80 miles an hour, 2 feet from your door. That's what our teams feel every single day, all day long.
People out there are my friends, my family, my community, the public's community. It's somebody that knows someone's family member. That's who's in the work zones that you pass every day.
We've had people that someone has run into the work zone intoxicated. We've had them run into the back of vehicles and tear equipment up, tear up trucks, and unfortunately, we've had a fatality. Very, very difficult for the co-workers to go through that have to live through that, and leaving a bunch of family members behind with no father to come home. That's not anything I want to wish on anybody.
He was a great leader. His guys looked up to him, and I think that kind of added a whole another layer to the trauma for those guys. No one deserves to die at work, and you won't want to think that, but to see your supervisor get taken by something like that is pretty traumatic. We realize there's risk in everything. Anything could happen at any time, but for somebody to be taken like that just for lack of judgment, lack of attention, it's sort of gut-wrenching. It's an eye-opener for everyone, or should be.
Seems like to me people don't care. They want to go home to their families, but don't care if we get home to our families. And I tell my employees in our safety huddles in the mornings, we want to go home the same way we came. And unfortunately, sometimes that doesn't happen.
Something happens in a second, in the blink of an eye. If you can start tomorrow by concentrating for just one more second, and that second becomes a minute, and that minute becomes 10 minutes, and you're through a work zone, and you paid attention, everyone will get to go home safe.
Take 5 or 10 miles an hour off as you're coming through a work zone and pay attention to what's in front of you and around you, instead of where you're headed or what you've got to do next. Just 5 miles an hour makes a difference.
Don't speed. Don't be distracted. When you approach the work zone, all that should stop. It's too risky. That's someone else's family member across the barrier. It's not acceptable. It's just not acceptable.
I'm Tony Magwood, and I'm a resident maintenance engineer for the South Carolina Department of Transportation. Unfortunately, fatal crashes in the work zones are on the rise. Here in South Carolina, we have more construction underway than ever before, and that means more opportunities for you to travel through a work zone while you're driving. The most important thing you can do is stay alert for the signs that let you know that a work zone is coming up ahead on your drive. These black and orange signs in advance of the work zone are designed to warn you. Remember, it isn't just our workers we are protecting. Drivers are killed in work zone accidents each year. Being aware and traveling safely through a work zone is a life and death matter. Think about it. These highway work zones are like the offices for the construction workers you see behind me. You can imagine that someone driving at 70 miles per hour through your classroom or through your place of work, that is a reality for our highway workers. When you're traveling through a work zone, put down your cell phone, slow down, look out for people near the roadway. Look out for vehicles ahead of you that might be slowing rapidly trying to navigate through a work zone. I work on the roads here in South Carolina, and it is important to me and all of our workers to get home safely at the end of the day. Do your part and drive safely through our work zones.
Hi, I'm Jerry Porcher, traffic manager at Banks Construction. I've been approximately 19 years. I got a wife, a 9-year-old son that wants me to come home safely every day. So we're doing this to implore you teenagers and new drivers to slow down when you're entering a work zone. Read all the signs, pay attention, put your phone down, let us work, let us live. I want to touch briefly on something that happened to me outside the work zone. I was struck by a vehicle. I suffered some minor injuries, but the tragic part of the whole deal is that the driver of the other vehicle died on the scene, so he wouldn't get to go home and see his loved ones. So if I can't say anything else, please slow down, obey traffic signs, and let us work, let us go home safely, and you go home safely. Thank you.
Hey, how are you doing? This is Sergeant Tyler Tidwell with the South Carolina Highway Patrol, and I'm here to talk to you today about work zone safety. So, of course, when you're traveling through a work zone, or even before you get through a work zone, you'll have several signs that will alert you to what's getting ready to occur. So, of course, you'll see signs that say, hey, work zone starting in such and such amount of feet. And then when you get to 500 feet from it, it'll say, hey, work zone 500 feet, so on and so forth. And when you get to that work zone, even before you get to it, just start reducing your speed. Speed is a huge factor in a lot of our collisions, and speed kills. So we don't want anybody to get injured when you're driving through a work zone. Of course, there can be a lot of distractions where you are driving through a work zone. There's a lot of large, heavy machinery, cranes, trucks, dump trucks, skid steers, a lot of different machines, and also barricades, cones, and most importantly, humans. You know, the people that are actually putting their lives at risk working, they're upgrading the roads, widening the roads, and making it better for us. So you have to do your part in order to ensure that they go home safely to their families. But the main thing is that just mainly reduce your speed, increase your following distance, and watch the traffic around you, and also be prepared to stop. And you want to use extreme caution when driving through a work zone at night, whether workers are present or not. Also, make sure you adjust your lane position to allow for space between the workers and construction vehicles. Observe the posted work signs until you see in road work. Also, expect delays and plan for them. The earlier that you leave to reach your destination, the better. That way, you're not in a rush just to get from one point to another and trying to speed through a work zone. And also, I like to also add that, you know, unfortunately, we've seen people that have been hit, seriously injured or killed in construction work zones. And this is the main point of this, is to get people to change their driving behaviors and to drive more safely. I've had DOT workers that I've seen get struck in work zones, or either I've heard about it. I've had coworkers that have been struck in work zones. That can be troopers, deputies, other officers, just whoever. You just have to realize that these people can't shut the road down completely while they're working. They have to allow traffic to flow while they're working, and vehicles, of course, they can reach speeds of up to 100 miles an hour on the interstate. You're not supposed to go that fast, but you need to slow down. Most of the time, the speed limit in a work zone will be, depending on where you are, is 35 to 45 miles an hour. If you're off the road, or if you're on a main highway, it may be 35 miles an hour. And if you're on the interstate, it could be 45 miles an hour. It just depends. But just make sure that you drive safely, pay attention, and know that lives are at risk. So once again, reduce your speed, make sure you wear your seatbelt, don't drive distracted. And distraction could be somebody else in your vehicle. It can be you eating and driving, putting on makeup, on your phone, just whatever. And last but certainly not least, make sure you do not drive under the influence. That includes drugs and or alcohol. Thank you.